going to be a tutorial to show you some animation tricks and tips. Okay, so by now you should have gotten the basics of animation. Inserting a keyframe, you know that you can move them on the timeline, you know that you can delete them, but as I said before, this will be just pretty much some tricks and tips. Alright, so I have a really simple animation on my screen. So let me go ahead and play it. Really complicated. I have two cubes moving from one end of my y-axis to the other. So first things first, I want to show you about timing. So it may be a little bit difficult to see, but what happens is it starts out slow, it goes a little bit faster, and then it slows down. This is the animation principle of ease in and ease out. So if you go into the Object tab right here, what we want to do is we want to find where it says Motion Paths. Now, Motion Paths, I'm going to go ahead and stop my animation first. And now I'm going to calculate. Let me make sure that I have my object selected. I'm going to calculate. And you're going to see that this has given me a dotted line. So where the dots are really, really close together, that is going to mean slower movement. If the dots are spread out, that's going to be faster. So let's go ahead and watch this real quick. So you can see how it starts out slow, it speeds up, and then slows down again. And if I do my other one, here we go, same principle. So it also gives me any type of keyframes that I may have. So I have a keyframe set on 1, I have a keyframe set at 140. So if I were to go about halfway, and I'm just going to go ahead and move this and set a keyframe. And there we go. And you're going to notice that the motion path did not change, because anytime that you make a change in the motion path, you're going to have to click Update Paths. And here we go. So let's go ahead and think about how we would change this. Alright, normally you do want ease in and ease out, just because that's how normal life works. For example, if you start a car, you're not going to go 0 to 60 in 0.1 seconds. You need to ease in on the acceleration and you pick up speed as you go. Same with walking. We're not suddenly like, say, the Flash, and we go like 600 miles per hour or whatever. So we normally, in real life, ease in and ease out. But sometimes if you are doing something mechanical, like say a clock face, you don't want your animation to show ease in and ease out, because it is always the same timing. You want it to be a solid timing and not slow in, slow out, etc. Alright, so to do this, I am going to go into my animation panel. And right here, I'm going to change this to my graph editor. Now, the graph editor looks really, really confusing. But pretty much anytime that you see slopes like this, this is just Blender's way of saying there's ease in and ease out going on. Right now, we're just going to really brush past this topic. We're going to go over graph editors even more, but this is not a whole lecture on doing the graph editor. This is just tricks and tips. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my animation. Alright, so it shows my cube, it shows any of the animation I have here. So I'm going to press T as in turtle, and here are my interpolation. Pretty much, this is how my cube is currently moving. And I want, instead of having it as a Bezier, which is going to be the curve. I want to put it at linear. Let's go ahead and make sure that I have everything selected first. And linear. Alright, so you can see how it got rid of the curve in my graph editor. Let's see how this is playing on the motion path. So I'm going to go to my motion path again. I'm going to update my path, and hopefully you got to see this, but you're going to notice at the beginning and the end, it no longer has the dots clumped together. So what this means is there is no ease in or ease out. It's all one solid movement. It's going at a steady speed. And if I were to do it with this one, select all, T, and linear, and I update my path, here we go, all constant. Alright, so that is trick one, changing it from ease in to ease out into a constant speed. Again, most of the time you would just do this for mechanics. So for a robot, for a clock, anything that has to have a solid timing with movement. Alright, second thing I want to go over is making something appear and disappear in the render. So for this, what we're going to be doing is going into the outliner. Now you all should know that if I hit the eyeball, what's going to happen is my object is going to disappear from my scene. However, if I were to render this cube that just disappeared would still be in my render. Sometimes, especially if we want things to appear and disappear, we want to make sure that well, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry about that. But if we want things to appear and disappear, we need to make sure that we're not only seeing it on the viewport right here, the work area, we're also seeing it in the render. So in order to do this, we need to go to the filter in the outliner, and we need to enable the camera. So this is going to be the render button. So just like I told you in class, almost every button can be animated. So let's say that I want this to disappear, start out disappeared, and appear at up here. So let's go ahead. Alright. So first things first, what I want to do is here I'm going to hit the eyeball. Now that's going to hide it from my work area, and now I'm going to hit the camera. So right now it is not animated, but I'm going to hit I as an igloo over the eyeball and over at the camera. Now you're going to notice how the camera has a yellow aspect to it. That means that there is a keyframe on it, but the eyeball does not. That is because that key cannot be animated. So in order to animate it from the view, we need to actually toggle another thing. We need to toggle the viewport. So now I'm going to go ahead and close the monitor, hit I, and voila, it's animated. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and I believe it was 64. I am going to toggle this open. And let's do the eye open. And I'm going to toggle the render camera as well. And I'm going to insert a keyframe on both. Just a reminder, you do need to make sure that you have two keyframes, one that will have it appear and one that will have it disappear. So if I were to play my animation, you can see it starts out invisible and then visible. So if I were to render it out, it's not going to show up until frame 64. Just because I animated the outliner. Okay. So that is how you can make things appear and disappear in your animation. And if I click on my object and I click on the dope sheet, it is going to be right here. Here is the keyframe of what I have done. So just a reminder, with the keyframe, you can duplicate any of your keys. So technically, if I wanted it to disappear, I could take these two keyframes and Shift D, duplicate it, and move it down here. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to disappear yet again. And that is just a really good time saver. Alright, so we went over getting rid of ease in and ease out. We went over how to hide our objects from the render. Alright, this last tip that I am going to be going over is how to give it some life for your animation. So right now, I have this animation, and it's pretty simple. It just moves one into another. Alright, but let's say that I want to give it a little bit more animation. I am going to be in the graph editor right here, and I want to press N as in Nancy. Alright. Alright, so what we need to do is here in the graph editor, again, you need to press N. And so what I need you to do is you're going to see that with this cube, it has an action. And I am going to increase that little arrow thing. And I'm going to choose what I have an animation on. So I happen to have an animation on the Y location. So because I have clicked on here, this is now going to show me the modifiers panel. So think about the modifiers as special effects. We are not going to be going over all of them quite yet, just a couple that you would probably use the most. Alright, so where it says add modifiers, I am going to go to cycles. And you can see how my graph editor changed. Now, if I were to play my animation, everything is working just fine. Just like before. It's like I didn't do anything with it. But if I increase my animation, what's going to happen is it's going to repeat the action over and over again. So you don't automatically have to re-keyframe it to go back and forth. This pretty much does all the work for you. Alright, next, let's go ahead and click on noise. I'm going to get rid of cycles. Alright, so noise, I don't know if you can really tell, but it is sort of like hesitation. So if I had more than one axis created, animated I should say, it's going to jump all over the place. But because I only have one, you can see just a limit. Well, let me go ahead and keyframe it real quick. Let's go ahead and move this. Alright. Let's go ahead and keyframe it on the X a little bit. Alright. And I'm going to have it move on the X location. Alright, not much of a movement, it just goes over a little bit. But now if I take the X location and I put the noise on it, you're going to notice that it wobbles back and forth. And let's really up the strength, and now you can really see it. it's just jittering all over the place. And again, this is just a helpful thing that you can do instead of you actually doing every single keyframe. Alright. I'm going to put this back there. Alright. And the thing, because it is a modifier, you can just simply X off of it, and then that'll take care of it. Alright, the stepped interpolation, this is just going to almost be like the noise. Let's go ahead and just increase the step size. Let me show you. So this is actually putting a pause in the brackets. And you can see now how my animation is going. So instead of wobbling all over the place like noise happened, again, this is just giving a short little pause. And this is just to give you some life for your animation. And just a reminder, alright, most of the time you will not see this until you have one of your axes selected. And I can take that off if I no longer like it. Alright, that's it for animation tricks and tips. Just a reminder that pretty much every button in Blender can be animated. You just have to put your mouse over it and press I. And there we go. Let's see. You need a starting and ending keyframe. And is there anything else I want to go over? I think that's it. Alright, so see y'all in class later. Alright, bye.